cactus and succulent growers, I'm Lynn. Welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon in the north of Ireland. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a bit of a sort of operation, a bit of a save, and trying to work out what is wrong with my Rebutia Perplexa, which is this big bowl here of a Rebutia cluster that I have grown for about 28 years. Now this Rebutia Perplexa, it used to flower for me every year with the most incredible of beautiful pink flowers. Just look at this, guys, in this photograph. You can see how amazing the flowers are. And it used to bloom without fail for many, many, many years. As I've grown this cactus for 28 years. And I got it when I was in my early 20s. And it was just a very small cluster, just a few heads, and it's sort of grown into a lovely mound over the years. Always beautiful flowers. Bees used to love it. And I've made quite a few videos on my YouTube channel over the past few years where every time it's bloomed. But for the past, I'd probably even say 7 years, since I moved here up into the north of Ireland anyway, I've had no flowers on it. Now, I repotted it a couple of years ago and the roots were great. It looked perfect. I couldn't see anything wrong. It just keeps producing more and more of these heads, but no flowers. But what I've noticed this year is that the heads are getting smaller and smaller despite me watering it very, very regularly. It doesn't seem to be doing anything. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be taking it into my grow room and taking it out the pot, having a full inspection of it, checking what the roots are like again. And if the roots sort of look okay, I may have to tease this apart because there's something seriously wrong with it. If it just wasn't flowering, well, that would be a bit of a mystery. But the fact the heads are getting smaller and smaller, there's something that's stopping it from taking up water. And you know, a few years ago it came down with spider mite, which is common with Rebutias, and I treated it and it's recovered from it. So it's not that. All of my other Rebutias that come down with spider always recover and they still flower and everything. So it's going to be a bit of a mystery, and I thought I'd share this in this video with you. Should you have this happen with any of your Rebutias that don't seem to flower and you know there's something wrong, they keep shrinking. And also I like to share everything with you in my videos with my plants, what's going on, because this is one of my creme de la creme, as they can call it, in my collection. It's always been one of my favourites. It's very disappointing to not see it flower. And it's also the same with this one. This is my Rebutia albipilosa that always had the most stunning, gorgeous, bright orange blooms, as you can see here in this photograph. And this has also refused to bloom for me since I moved up here too. But it's otherwise very healthy. I mean, it's got lots of new growth. You can see all this new growth here. And when I water it, it fattens up well. There's nothing. Again, I repotted this a year or two ago and it was perfect. So I don't know what's wrong with this one, but I'm going to be probably doing another video on this one in the next few days too, and so I'll share that when I do. But today's video is purely about this one. So as I mentioned, I'm going to take it in, take it apart, and come on then, guys, let's see what we can do. So then, guys, let's get this beauty out the pot. And this is the old label that's falling apart. I'm a little bit nervous about how this is going to look because it's just gorgeous like this. But as I say, it's not flowered for so long. There is something wrong with it. So obviously I'm going to tip it out, press it down here. Yay, it's come out easy enough. And let's have a look. Well, as you can see there, the roots look pretty much okay. I don't want to pull this plant apart if I don't need to, you know. So I'm just going to loosen it up. What I think has happened here, as you can see, I've used extremely gritty soil, a lot of pumice and a lot of grit and also lava rock, which isn't a problem. But I do think what's happened, I think I know what's happened here. I've got it in a clay pot, lovely clay pot. But it's very drying. This is why when I water it, it dries out so fast. And with this extremely gritty mix, which is great mix, but maybe it's just too drying for this particular Rebutia. I notice all my Rebutias seem to like a lot of watering at this time of year, during the summer particularly. So the good news is, and I'm really happy about this, guys, I was actually really nervous taking this out the pot because I was thinking, what if it's all rotting? And as I say, I've had this plant for 28 years, and these are all fresh roots there. So I can now, and this is really the good news, just loosen up all of this old soil. I'm just going to push that aside and take off any sort of dead heads. This is normal with Rebutia clusters. The clumps, they often die back with the old ones. This is normal, no problem there. And the roots are absolutely fab, as you can see. So I'm going to just carefully now loosen this up, remove any that have died back here, any little dead heads like that, and remove as much of this old soil as I can without damaging the roots. This is clearly way too dry. You would not believe this when I say that I actually thoroughly watered this plant only a few days ago, and the weather hasn't been particularly brilliant here. It's been quite warm, but mostly sort of overcast, and it has still dried out, very dry. So what I'm going to be doing is obviously removing all of this soil now, as much as I can. Then I'm going to then plant it up in a pot like this, but plastic, so it retains water for longer, and with a much more moisture retentive, but still a well draining soil. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do now, and removing any of this. And this, if you have any of these Rebutias that grow like clumps, this is normal to remove any rotting ones. They die back every now and then, no problem. Oh, just so happy the roots are okay, guys, because this is not one I'd want to lose. So remove all these dead bits here. And I'm going to carry on doing this and then loosening up the soil here. I don't have to remove all the soil, it's not going to hurt. But a lot of these roots then, once they're all loosened up from this old soil, I can pot into nice, lovely, more moisture retentive soil, but still with grit and pumice. So just going to carry on loosening all these roots now, and I'm going to use my little handy chopstick, because this is good for loosening up all that soil on the roots here. That's it, guys, all loosened up the roots there, and as you can see, great root system. It's just been kept too dry in the soil mix it was in, and especially with this clay pot. So I've got a new pot here, plastic pot, about the same size. I've just put a little stone in the bottom there over the drainage hole, and I've made up a much more moisture retentive but still well draining soil. I've used John Innes number 2, which is a loam based soil with a bit of pumice and a bit of grit. Still free draining here, as you can see, so it will dry out quick, but not as quick as the very high pumice and lava rock mix. So also with the plastic pot, it's going to stay a lot better at keeping it more moisture for a little bit longer. As I mentioned, I find my Rebutias do seem to like to be a bit more moisture in the summer times, being in summer, than the other types of cacti do. So then I'm going to put a bit of soil at the bottom here. And then I'm going to gently place this lovely Rebutia in there. May need to put a bit more soil in. Yep, I will do. A little bit more in. There we go. Gently place it in to make sure that all the roots are all loose there. So placing it in like so. And now I'm going to be putting the soil all around it. And I'm going to be, although this obviously is very dehydrated, needs a good water to suck it all up, I'm going to still leave it at least 10 days to 2 weeks before I water. And the reason for that is because, as you can see, I have had to disturb the roots, and doing so can obviously cause, if I was just to go ahead and heavily water this now, rot could possibly set in. But I do think it'd be no problem just doing this and then letting it sit. And when I do start to water in about 10 days time, I'm going to just very lightly water it, probably give it a bit of a misting as well, just to encourage the roots to get watered again and into this fresh soil. So I'm going to gently tap the soil down in here. These pan bowls are absolutely great for these type of cacti that need a wide shape dish. And the reason why I'm tapping is it's easier to get the soil around because there's not much space around it. So tapping there and then making sure I'm using one of the blunt end of this long handled spoon. The soil gets all down the edges. I like misting, just a light with a watering spray, just literally around it and through it. That will just get it settled in. And hopefully next year I shall get to see the blooms again. Rebutias can sort of flower on and off all through the summer, but I find the majority of mine sort of flower earlier on for me. I still have some in the polytunnel blooming at the moment, but this one was always a May bloomer, sort of early June bloomer. And I did actually, strangely enough, see a couple of buds forming on this last year and also this year, but they just fell off. It was just not enough moisture in this. I'm tapping it around. Make sure then that all the soil around. And although I've placed this on the top, obviously the roots are just literally placed on the top of this soil, going lightly with the watering. After 10 days, the roots will then send out into the soil down to the bottom. And I tell you what, I know that this is going to really recover well because it was just too drying for the soil. The soil mix I use actually is absolutely great for a lot of cacti, particularly the ones that have very sensitive tuberous roots, because it dries out quick. But I think the combination of that with this plant that does need a bit more moisture, and especially in the clay pot. But you learn. I've been growing cacti for over 40 years. In fact, it'll be 41 years now, and I'm still always learning. I really want to see the magnificent blooms on this again. Hopefully next year it should see them back again. And as I said, just show you another photograph now at just how stunning the blooms are on this when it flowers. And I really have missed them. So I think that's pretty much it. Happy days. I'll just go and rewrite another label. Rebutia Perplexa. Yay! That's that Rebutia all saved, and I'm sure it's going to make a great recovery. I'm going to put it back into the polytunnel, but a little bit in a bit more of a shady spot, just while it's sort of rebuilding its root system again. So it still gets plenty of light, but not too much direct sun. And as I say, I'm going to give it its light watering in 10 days' time. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you haven't done already, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. Do follow me on Insta, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon for lots of flower photographs of all of my cacti and succulents blooming gorgeous at the moment. And do check my website out, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic day filled with lots and lots of cactus power!